Hey, my name is Brittany Stump, and I'm the volunteer coordinator here at Weber Human Services for the Foster Grandparent Program of Northern Utah. And today we're going to go through a series of PowerPoints that are basically just designed to give you an overview of some of the things that you'll be working with your students that you'll be tutoring. Each workstation is going to have its own set of things that it's looking for, and they will probably also give you a bit of training on that as well. But these are some very rudimentary skills towards literacy development that I think will be really essential when you get started working with your kids. So first off, to get it started, welcome to the team. We're so very glad that you're here. I personally, it's late in the day. I personally believe that the service that you're offering to these children of one-on-one tutoring is invaluable. I used to work as a paraprofessional myself and as a teacher in the public school system and in a charter school. So I know what you're doing is super valuable, and I know that it's also very difficult to get people into these positions for whatever reason. I just think that, like, a lot of people that are still working in other jobs they just don't have the time. So, you know, we used to try to get parents to come in, and it was very difficult. So kudos to you, and thank you so much for the service that you're providing our community and these children, your heroes. Yeah, we're going to go over these once I lift this. There we go. These are 5 skills to literacy development, and these are usually skills that children develop between kindergarten and 3rd grade. But of course, depending on the kiddos that you're working with and where they are in their IEPs or their developmental learning, you might be working with 4th and 5th graders that are still learning these skills. So one of the very first things that's super important for anyone to learn and develop while they're trying to enhance a sort of literacy awareness is the phonemic awareness. So that's what we'll be discussing in this slideshow. So you might ask yourself, well, what is phonemic awareness? Phonemic awareness is the ability to understand and hear that a word is made up of a series of discrete sounds or phonemes. So for example, the word did is made up of 3 phonemes. D, I, D. The skill of phonemic awareness allows children to take words apart and put them together and then alter them. So for this example, those 3 phonemes are the D, the I, and the D. So it's really important when you're working with these kiddos not to make the mistake that I did early in my work as paraprofessional of going duh or buh. Because then when they're trying to pick those words apart, especially if they're children who are challenged in phonemic awareness, they will go duh, duh, instead of the d. So that's kind of important if you're working with phonemic awareness to keep that in mind. Let's watch this quick video. It's very informative about what is phonological awareness. Here we go.
Awareness that the words that we speak can be taken apart, and phonological referring to the sound system of language. It's something that we do auditorily. We're listening to words, we're listening to sentences, we're listening to language, and we're hearing it. So it's not about what we're seeing, it's all about what we're hearing. When we talk about phonological awareness with teachers and we teach teachers about that skill, we say phonological awareness skills can be done with your eyes closed so that they understand there's a distinction between phonological awareness and phonics. Phonological awareness is a broad term that encompasses language in different size chunks, if that's one way to think about it. So sentences can be taken apart word by word. So young children can clap or march to, I like ice cream, I like pizza, and we get them to really be able to take those sentences apart word by word and understand words can be taken apart that way. And then once they get that concept, we can actually get them to clap the syllables in words that have more than one syllable. So elephant, giraffe. And when they can do that, we go to the next step where they have to actually break those syllables down into smaller units. Those units are referred to as phonemes. A phoneme is a speech sound. So every language has a finite number of those sounds. English has 44 of them. And before we even introduce kids to the fact that these sounds are represented by letters, again, at a listening and an auditory level, we want them to be able to take those sounds apart within a word. So for example, the word same. We have the child say same. I have the same color on today that my best friend does. Okay, so we put it in the context of meaning, and then we start with the beginning sound in the word same and stretch it out. What's the first sound you hear in same? And initially, kids can hear that first sound. Once they're good at isolating that initial sound, we then shift them to the final sound. Same. And again, because we're very strategically and explicitly pulling out words that have sounds at the end and the beginning that can be stretched out, we can get them to be pretty good at accurately telling us the sound they hear at the end. From there, we shift to the medial sound, the sound in the middle, in this case, A, right? So same, again, we can stretch out that vowel sound. So in the word same, there are three sounds. It may be confusing, and it can be confusing in some respects, because the word same, again, as a skilled reader, we know there's an E at the end. And a lot of times when we do these activities, a great activities called Say It and Move It, you'll get a precocious child pulling another chip down because they'll know there's another letter there. Say, no, this isn't about the letters that you're seeing. This is about the sounds that you're hearing. So it's a very important skill, phonemic awareness. It's very predictive of a child's ability to be able to read words and decode. So it's an incredibly important skill to teach. And it's important for teachers to understand there's a sequence of doing that, right? From the biggest size of phonological awareness that we talked about earlier to those little bitty sounds called phonemes.
Okay, so
Phonological awareness.
let me get past her. There we go. So phonemes and phonological awareness, again, it has to do with taking little bits apart. And I love Dr. Seuss for teaching phonemes. It's just, there's a lot going on there. So every time you chant your favorite children's rhyme or read along from a Dr. Seuss book, you're helping children develop phonemic awareness. So it's just becoming aware of all the different sounds. Phonemic awareness tasks for tutors. These are some things that can help you when you're trying to get these little kiddos to develop that phonemic awareness. And one of them is rhyme. So you might give them a list of words and ask them to listen for the two words that rhyme in a string of words. So in this example, we have cat, boy, and bat. And you might ask your students, okay, which of those two words rhymes? Which one does not? Alliteration. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. So that gets them used to those different sounds in their mouths and in their ears. You might be asked to do these little oddity tasks. And that's where you ask them to listen for the word that does not rhyme in a string of words. So for instance, in this one, I'm going to tell the student, sat, sit, mat. And especially when I was working with kindergartners, there were a lot of times they would get confused in something like that because sat and sit have the same s sound at the beginning. They also end with t. So they might be like, oh, it's sat and sit. But really the rhyming words are sat and mat. And so that's where you're helping them pick out the middle phoneme, ah. You'll ask them to listen for the word that begins with a different sound in a string of words. So for instance, you would tell them boy, bit, man. And then you would say, okay, so which one begins with a different sound? In this case, I've got an email here, that would be man. But they might get confused because again, they might start getting the meanings mixed up. So boy and man are very similar. So they might be like, oh, it's boy and man, but really it's man because boy and bit start with B. You might have them do blending words and splitting syllables. So you'll say a word, man, and you'll ask them to listen for the word parts. N. Then you'll ask them to blend the words together. So we'll go n, and then you'll go an, and then you put them together and it's man. So those are just some little tricks. More phonemics, orally segmenting words. So you might ask them to segment a word. So you'll say, can you please segment the word dig for me? So then they would go d, ig, or d, ig. That's them taking it apart. You give them the word and then they take it apart. There's phonemic manipulation tasks, and we did this a lot in the school that I worked in, where you ask the child to replace one sound with another. So for instance, you might give them the word at, and then you ask them to replace the first sound. So they might come up with bat, which is the next word, or they might come up with that. So we've got bat here. You might give them the word id, kid, and then ask them to change the first sound and see if they can come up with something like did. Again, it's just helping them have an awareness of all of those different sounds so that they can piece them together. And a lot of kiddos who struggle with reading, they think in terms of like coding almost. A lot of kids that are very good at math will struggle with reading because they're not able to put the pieces together in the way that numbers make sense to them. So this is kind of like decoding the words to help it make more sense for them. You might give them the word bit, it, and ask them to come up with a new one. And they might say it, hit. So these are some of the things that you want to look for. How do you know that a child understands phonemic awareness? So as you talk with, read to, and play word games with children, notice behaviors that indicate development of phonemic awareness. And they will be very excited to show you their progress as much as they can. So if you give them those opportunities, especially at those K through 3 ages, they get really excited about it. You can use blends and rhymes. Blend words have been divided into syllables. So example, the tutor says water, and the child says water. So you might do like, here's another one using that same rhyming scheme. You might say to the child daughter and see if they can put that together as a word, daughter. Rhyming words, again, cat, rat, fat, sat, hat. And then you'll ask them, well, what is the part that rhymes? And it's the at part. So those are just some examples of helping children develop phonemic awareness. Those are very important skills, again, at those early ages, but don't be surprised if you work with older kids that also are still trying to develop some of these skills. So the most important takeaway that everyone has to remember when working with children is even a small amount of progress is progress. So a lot of our students will struggle at first, but tiny steps in the right direction are a major achievement. And then this is just mastering short vowels and reading whole words. This is, I believe it's Reading Rockets. It's on YouTube. It's quite long though. So if you choose to watch this in your own time, again, I'm giving you access to these PowerPoints so you can watch those in your own time.
Call that vowel sound.
Yeah, it's very good. So it's got someone actually working with them. And feel free to watch that if you feel like you need some more development with phonemic awareness. So thank you for watching this first slide. If you have any questions at all, I've got all of my contact information here. It's brittany.s@weberhs.org. Here's my phone number, 801-625-3782. And all of our information can be found on the website, weberhs.net. Charity Robery is our FGP director. And then again, I'm the volunteer coordinator specialist. Our address is here, 237 26th Street, number 320. My office is actually 311, but if you're mailing things, it'll go to 320. Ogden, Utah, 84401. And thank you for your time.